I'm Rachel Mitchell. I'm Director of Community Climate Initiatives with Clean Foundation. It's great to be here in Halifax today, one of the biggest cities in the Maritimes, actually the Atlantic provinces. And I'm also from a big city, so born and raised in Toronto. I made the move out here to Nova Scotia in 2019, so just before the big COVID shift. I think that gives me a little bit more street credit as a come-from-away resident in Nova Scotia. But I actually live in the small town of New Glasgow, and I'm excited to be able to speak about the work that's happening in our rural municipalities. Just realized I have to do the clicking. Perfect. So for those of you that don't know, Clean Foundation, we were established in 1988. We are a climate-focused nonprofit organization. We deliver impactful programs across Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and the Atlantic region. So we bring specialized teams together. We deliver on complex problems through initiatives and programs in workforce development, clean transportation, energy, and more. And Shunpei in particular, I know you're from out of town, but anybody else, I highly recommend you take the ferry over to Dartmouth. It's beautiful, it's worth the trip, and there are some great restaurants in downtown Dartmouth, and you'll be able to see our office at the same time. I like to use these presentations as a bit of a tourism advertisement too, so there'll be more on some of our smaller communities. All right, so when we think about climate change, our communities are absolutely on the front lines of impacts. With every passing year, we're experiencing more prolonged heat waves, extreme storms, forest fires, which is of course happening right now, flooding events, and of course coastal erosion. Our community resilience is essential to navigating climate impacts in our towns, regions, and our cities. And many of our municipalities struggle to deal with these challenges due to limited capacity, a lack of expertise or resources, and of course, all of the demands on communities. Despite this bleak picture, I suppose, there's a ton of opportunity and innovation that's taking hold in our communities and at the local level. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Community Climate Capacity Program, which is an exciting program that Clean is running, and we're working with 19 Nova Scotian communities to accelerate their climate work, and these are mostly smaller communities. It's funded by the Nova Scotia Department of Environment and Climate Change, and we officially launched with our first cohort in 2024, so about last spring, and we're going to be working with the majority of our communities until March of 2028. We're in the process of expanding, which is really exciting, so we're going to be welcoming 6 to 10 more communities to join our program, and they're mostly coastal communities. And the way we're designed is we're trying to be, trying to be very flexible, agile, and ensure that we can meet the changing needs of these communities and really integrate climate into the work that they're already doing. For our structure, we have a climate lead or a community navigator that's paired with 2 to 3 communities each. So they are the go-to person, the boots on the ground. They're there at the beck and call of their municipality to do climate work. And that might look like writing funding applications, reviewing policies, supporting with land use planning, a whole lot of different work, a lot of community engagement in particular. And they're supported by a team of specialists, and those are subject matter experts with expertise in policy and planning, mitigation, adaptation, funding engagement, as well as project management. And then finally, there's a team of managers that work to move all of the moving pieces, provide strategic direction, and shout out Courtney, one of our managers is here today. I think she's well known in the planning world. That was good. All right, so here is a map. You can see Nova Scotia, and these are the 19 participating communities that we have. For the most part, so 16 are municipalities. We have Cape Breton Regional Municipality, and that would be our biggest community, and then we're working all the way down to the South Shore with Barrington. The Pictou County Partnership is a regional enterprise network. We also have Weymouth Falls Community Land Trust and Waccamaw First Nation in Unama'ki, Cape Breton. Great. So how are we building community resilience? Well, the Community Climate Capacity Program, like I said, is designed to really be nimble, to be agile, and to be flexible to respond to the needs of these communities. So we're focused on making climate work more accessible and approachable, less daunting, I suppose. We're not trying to solve a world crisis in the community of Pictou. We're trying to support Pictou in navigating what these challenges look like and to support them in building their resilience. So we try to find ways to integrate climate into existing municipal work, apply a climate lens, incorporate climate projections to best reflect those changing conditions and demands on infrastructure. So if we were to distill it down to 3 steps to build community resilience, we're starting with risk assessments, understanding exposure, vulnerability, and the hazards, and how that's going to impact the community, not just our assets and infrastructure, but really the people and the way of life there. Next, we're assessing and prioritizing what are the opportunities to move decision-making forward, to incorporate climate resilience, to build up adaptive capacity. And lastly, develop and implement. So what policies need to change? How can we lay the foundation, the groundwork for more work to take hold and to take root? Can we get shovels in the ground on an adaptation project, nature-based solutions, or also our mitigation work too, thinking about reducing energy consumption and reducing costs. Now for some exciting examples. The town of Pictou, which is very close to where I live, for anyone not from the area, on the North Shore, they have received funding through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and their Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation Fund to actually raise Cullen Avenue. And this is part of a very big, large project, and we supported with one component of it. So we're trying to reduce the impacts of sea level rise and coastal flooding in the town. So they received approximately $746,000 from FCM to do this work, and they're raising the street to a minimum of 2.1 meters above mean sea level projections for 2100, and the highest tide is projected to be about 1.8, so we're considering how we can go above and beyond and protect this community, this waterfront, and the infrastructure. So this will help reduce those flood risks, maintain emergency access as well during high water events, ensure public safety, and also ensure the stability for these businesses right along the water. A lot of great restaurants in Pictou as well, so it's important to protect them. And it's great because it also complements the work that's been happening for their waterfront redevelopment plan, which was done by Upland. So to Wendy's point, thinking about economic development and ensuring we're weaving that in. And the other piece would be the Jitney Trail, which is really exciting for any cyclists in the room. Great place to ride your bike. No traffic or anything because it's fully a bike trail. So we supported the town in receiving $70,000 for a feasibility study on the construction of a living shoreline to reduce coastal erosion and enhance the biodiversity along the trail. So this is just a small picture of what might be possible in the Jitney, and that's just in the feasibility stage. And again, knowing there's a lot of planners in the room, this is probably a great graphic to illustrate some of the work that's happening and the trail extension, but in the interest of time, I will move on. Another example would be from the town of Annapolis Royal. We supported them, and their climate lead acquired $880,000, again from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, to construct an actual living shoreline along the town's historic waterfront. So it's the first phase of a lot of adaptation work that needs to be done in this community, and that's their mayor, Amory, there in the photo. Part of the work that's happened here was to understand some of the economic risks to this community, what it would cost with an increase in coastal storm surge, in coastal erosion and everything like that. So we were able to support in making the business case for this work to see it through. It also, like I said, with nature-based solutions, is leveraging the existing salt marsh that's there that will help with absorbing and slowing wave energy and mitigating that coastal erosion and protecting, of course, infrastructure. Lastly, we have the town of Kemptville, and they have done an exciting biodiversity strategy, and this is going to help to take a proactive approach to protecting natural spaces and local species. So it's a directional guide for broader decision-making within the town, so supporting adaptive capacity to handle the varied impacts of climate change, but it's also going to support with sustainable development, thinking about residential infrastructure that needs to be built and new development in that space, making sure that they're still maintaining the protection and stewardship of the natural spaces in the town. All right, so what is next for this program? Well, we have a few more years to be working in community, which is great. And as I said, we are in the process of expanding. So we will be onboarding new communities to join and hopefully be able to do additional work. We're focusing our attention now more and more on implementation, making sure we're not in a position that we're just leaving these communities with plans and no real plan to implement them. We want to make sure that these plans are not collecting dust, they're not sitting on a shelf, but we're actually seeing shovels in the ground or policy changes being put into place, reviewing land use planning, things like that. So our leads and our navigators who are working on the ground are really doing their best to demonstrate the value of climate work to these small communities. And then we're supporting them additionally with regional collaboration, shared service agreements, and seeing what the opportunities might look like for more of that regional collaboration. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to the next step.
Thank you, Rachel.